Good evening or morning, wherever you are. You might be watching this at any time of day. That's the magic of the internet. Welcome to Between Two Wems, but we're not between the Wems tonight. But I can't remember what we even called it. I'm not sure we've even got an official name yet. But this is our series where we're talking to bands and musicians about their journey through music and what inspires them and what they enjoy in life as well. Talk about anything. Apart from Game of Thrones.
No,
we've already done that. We're done with that today.
Talking about disappointments.
Put that to bed, just like George R.R. Martin.
I'm going to keep saying tonight because it's evening here, so that's the right time of day to have a conversation. We've got Trigger Fun. They've just done, what was it, a week ago or so? We did our live session in here, recorded 3 songs. Playing live. I haven't played them to you yet, the mixes, because I didn't want this to be soured.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I was thinking it might be best for us to be in a good mood.
Yeah. So
we might not be a band afterwards.
On the end of the sofa there's Will. In the middle there's Aaron. And then this end, next to me, Damon. Trigger Fun.
Yeah.
Hey.
Still
Trigger Fun, yeah.
Still.
So when did we meet?
Okay, so I met you in 2013 and I worked for you. You were my boss.
That's right.
Yeah. So I came, Alex had a rehearsal studio and recording studio and lots of other things called Factory Street. And I ended up just randomly getting a job there. To call it work would be an overstatement.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I don't remember
any work. No.
I don't remember employing him, to be honest.
Yeah. So that's how we met. Is that I ended up getting a job there, and
then you brought your band along.
Yeah.
We actually met a long time before that.
Did we?
Yeah, we did, because I think my dad helped with all the
marketing.
That's right. Yeah.
So before the studio, when the studio was actually like a hole in the ceiling and you had to climb a ladder. Yeah.
No, I do remember.
Yeah. I had a tour of the place before it was even a thing. So that's why I thought it was really interesting when Will got a job there later on. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
So it's just really strange how things kind of like...
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it, of course, because through your dad, we did the classic Factory Street logo.
Yeah.
I just wore a Factory Street t-shirt today. So
oh, really? Yeah, represent. Yeah. Sweet.
So that's how this all kind of... Nice to meet you. That's how it all started, really. It's just, just musicians in Bradford just finding each other.
And then it felt like you sort of found a home at Factory Street, rented a room.
It was a home away from home.
Yeah, we literally lived there.
I spent more time there than at home, probably most of the time,
I think you're one of the hardest working bands I've ever come across. I think that your devotion to your art is spectacular.
That means a lot.
Really, and it shows in your music, of course.
Thank you very much.
So, talking in music, what did you play? Tell us about the songs. You played 3 songs.
Yeah. So we played 2 oldies and 1 newie. The first one was called Slime, the second one's called Boohoo, and the third one's called Python.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a roast.
It
was a roast.
Do you... I get the feeling that you have a conflict when you're playing music, in that it's a struggle to sort of achieve what you want to achieve because what you did, the targets you set yourselves are so challenging. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the other side is to sort of be expressive, to express it. And obviously that's a sort of bit of a tightrope. We were talking about that earlier with the sort of battle between technique and expression or discovery and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So, what... Do you enjoy it? Do you like doing it? Or do you find it a difficult thing to just put yourself through?
All of the above,
yeah.
I would say, for me.
Yes.
It's... what I notice is that this band can make me quite unwell.
Sorry, I didn't mean to open too much.
Genuinely, I'm not even kidding. Like, I was like on the run up to just doing this live thing. There was a day where I just burnt out and I just stayed in bed the whole day. Like I was just toast because we put a lot of time and energy into it, or we try, and it's a labour of love. It's a passion project type thing. So it's one of them things that is both the best thing in my life, and sometimes I'm not saying I wouldn't have it any other way. It's the best thing in my life. But with that, when you care about something that much, it has power over you to make you feel really bad as well. When things don't go right, because
I suppose that's part of the creative process, isn't it?
Yeah.
That, like, without the sort of downs, you don't understand the ups.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how that works.
Was the what's the Donnie Darko quote? That destruction is a form of creation.
Yeah, it is. Definitely. Only from like breaking things down can you kind of start anew, when you get rid of things that had worked before and try different things. I don't know. I think talking about like the technicality of things, we spent a lot of time kind of playing and focusing more on the expression of things, and like, you know, being really in touch with the emotional side of making music. And that's something that's kind of come quite naturally to us. We're all three of us as personalities. We never really struggle to express ourselves.
No.
But I think like what technical ability does is it humbles you, because there's you can always be better. Like you can always be better at expressing yourself, but it's less definable. It's less quantifiable in the way that you can define your technicality with BPM. You can define it in in measures. And so I think what's difficult for us was to kind of take a step back and look at our technicality and the ways in which the technical side of things were actually holding us back from expressing ourselves the way that we wanted to. And so, and so putting everything under a microscope, particularly in like a studio live session like this, it became really clear that we didn't struggle to write songs that were true to us. We struggled to execute them in a way that they deserved and that we could be proud of, I think. So.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's really hard. And like I say, you set yourself a high bar because what you choose to play is quite complex. So
sure.
Compared to a lot of music.
For us, it's just for us.
I think
there's so many people who'd make it look like child's play.
Absolutely. I think it all. I mean, for me personally, it boils down to this wrestle with perfectionism, and you know, it's sometimes like, you know, you've got a certain performance in you, and that's what's frustrating when it's not coming out, because you know, we could play one day and everything's sounding, you know, we're like, cool, that's sounding all right, but then the next day it can all fall apart and sound really bad. And so you know that you can play to a certain standard, and then it really gets to you when you can't replicate that consistently, or you can't replicate it on stage or in a live environment. Yeah,
it's definitely a fluctuating process in that for me, some gigs are good, some gigs are and feel like hard work. Yeah. But what I've learned over the years from feedback from people coming up after gigs, because most people who listen to music are just amazed that you can do it at all. You know, absolutely. I mean, it's like mind blowing. So when you reach a point where you feel like your worst gig is still something that is worth something for people and they enjoy it, and it's, you know, because of the evidence, then that really helped me, I think, reach a certain point where the pressure of the performance was less. Sure. Because the baseline was there. But do you feel like you're on the brink of falling off it all the time and it being a complete disaster? Or is it just that you know you'll get through it and it'll be fine and nobody will notice, but you're not happy?
I think for me, it's like sometimes someone can come up to you and say they really enjoyed that show, and if you've had a really bad show and you think that you play badly, for me, I struggle to accept that they've enjoyed it because I didn't.
Like, how could you possibly?
Yeah.
When you've had a terrible time on stage,
and sometimes, like, I get stuck in this thing of just like, well, if I don't think it was good, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, and that's, you know, potentially not a healthy way to look at it.
Probably not.
It's a really interesting point, actually. It's a really interesting point that you bring up there about how long we've now been doing this in a sense of isolation. Yeah. We the only feedback that we've had for the better part of 3 years, 4 years, is been our feedback between the three of us. So this idea that we aren't getting that. The closest thing that we've really had to that external feedback is from yourself off the back of the recording that we did. You know, a couple of friends that we won't mention any names, who might have heard sneak previews of things that have been coming out previously, but it's not. We've not really been able to get any other kind of input in relation to it, excluding ourselves. So it is going to seem.
You did go through a phase of doing quite a lot of gigs at one point, though, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2018, 19 was busy.
Yeah,
18 was a very
18 was
busy
super
year.
busy.
A lot of it seemed to me like a lot of people were excited and interested in what you were doing. And it was
Weirdly.
We were excited and interested.
I mean, it's probably worth mentioning because no one's going to know, but like
Yeah.
we have only just gotten back together as a band, really.
Yeah.
Not just, how long's it been since we started?
Maybe
6 months.
6 to 8 months that we've kind of been like playing together again.
But there was 4.
Yeah, it's been about 4 years of like
Nothing.
not gigging and not being nowhere near as active as we were. It's like it was all we were doing. You know, sickness and health kind of gets in the way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we've not really been doing anything for the last 4 years. It's not out of
COVID, of course, will have.
Well, that,
you know what? Yeah,
that's a funny irony more than anything. You know, COVID and all of that. But we kind of got I don't know if it's really my place to say. I think we were originally looking at taking 2020 off as a year of no shows anyway.
Okay.
And then the world kind of copied
It's
us.
it's
It was
your
like,
fault.
we want to get in on this. Let's all have a year off. Only difference is that ours kind of went a little bit longer than Isolation did.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, ironically for us, we found that we had the time and opportunity to be able to work on our music much more during COVID
Sure.
because we weren't able to work in our day jobs.
Yeah.
And so that meant that we did the live stream stuff from here.
Yeah.
So that's the most rehearsing we've ever done. Was during
Wow.
COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously after the initial kind of panic of it all.
Yeah. I mean, we did end up recording some drums during that time, but then unfortunately, like everything just came to a halt.
No.
Through some.
Yeah, I got really sick. I just literally couldn't do it anymore. Physically crippled, disabled. I tried everything to be able to still play. We played some shows where I was still in that state, and it was just got to a point where it was like I couldn't even kind of get out of bed to do things. Really.
No, and that's not sustainable.
No, it's not. But you know, it's interesting because going back to your point about like how did it feel when we were playing these shows? Did it feel like it was coming off the rails? Did we feel like we were in control of it? And like full disclosure, like before we stopped for those reasons, I never felt like we were in control of anything. And actually, I really, and I'll speak frankly, I really didn't enjoy playing live. Like we played all these shows and I felt underprepared every single time. And that's kind of why we've had to kind of come back and look at our technical ability. And what is it that made us feel so, for me specifically as well, like why, it was, I'd be throwing tantrums and fits about it before we were going up there because I'm just sort of like, it's not right. It's not what it's supposed to be. The songs are this thing. And we're not kind of delivering it on them. So, when we did hear good feedback and that people were enjoying it, it's like, that gets you so far, but there's a personal satisfaction that you're still trying to get out of this thing where you feel like that's what you're trying to get.
It's like,
but
sometimes someone else's opinion can't trump yours.
No.
And that's kind of like my own, as again, like personal perfectionist thing of just like this needs to be a certain way that I want it and nothing else.
But there is a very selfish approach to playing music.
Absolutely.
Like it's three very selfish approaches to what could be perceived as trying to create some form of entertainment for somebody else. It's a very selfish endeavor on our part. It is. Yeah. People say that they do it for other people, that they're making these things so that they can change somebody else's life, but that's you wanting to do something that can have an influence on somebody else. That's
virtue signal.
It's a selfish act. It is a very selfish act, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing either.
No, I think there's a balance of everything, isn't there? It's like you are giving something to the world, so that has value, and not obviously not financial these days, but people need music.
Yeah. You can't be in this for the financial gain.
No.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that's the way it is. But you're still making music. And,
Yeah.
You know, that the likelihood of making any money out of it is slim, isn't it? You know, because
I think,
look around you.
yeah, we're just really fortunate that we somehow, like, our music managed to even connect with anyone. And we've, you know, to have had conversations with people where they say that, you know, anything that we've written's resonated with them to any sort of degree. Never mind, like, some of the levels that we've been really fortunate to resonate with some people. Small pocket of people, but one person, if you can affect one person's life deeply with it, then it's worth it. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, so those kind of conversations that we've had over the times that we've not been playing or being active as a band have just kind of helped kind of keep the pilot light on it as well. When there's many opportunities for it to blow out, we had many opportunities for us to go do different things, but we knew that what we had before was special, and that what I was going through that was holding the thing back was actually causing a lot of growth. Actually, it allowed us to take our foot off the gas, because in our 20s, I think we were just like wildly going at it and like brute forcing our way through it. And you know, I personally wasn't appreciating it for what it was at the time. I was very dissatisfied with every thing. It was never good enough. I was waiting for some destination or some sort of medal at the end of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, you've done something, and it's like, that's just not going to happen. And so making peace with the idea of never doing it again and now doing it again is like, I enjoy even the struggles now. Do you know, like, even just the fact that we have something hard to work towards is like, I'm grateful for that, and that it's not that we're starving or like,
you know, it's such a joyous thing to do that it isn't dependent on so many of the other stresses of life.
Yeah, I think, in fact, it was you that even said it to me, like, you know, the fact that your guitar is going out of tune whilst you play music is the big problem that you have to fix right now. How good a problem is that? And I'm like, yeah, spot on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, live performances, it's just who you are in the moment on that day, and you bring your all to it, and then, you know, you're not the performance. You can then step back afterwards and evaluate it just like everyone else can. And you know,
yeah, I think that, you know, that's one of the things that sort of working so much with music production has taught me, is that if I can just switch off from my own critical, once I've made a decision about something, I go, right, yep, that's okay, job done, then I can listen to it over and over again. It doesn't bother me that there's that note out of tune, because I've decided, and that's cool, put it to bed. I think that's a really hard thing to learn, and it took me many, many years to be able to do that, because I couldn't stand hearing myself at all.
yeah, that is a hurdle, isn't it? For sure.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of touch on, like, you know, we're quite control freaks with our stuff.
Yeah,
you know, like everything's made by us, and like, you know, everything's mixed by bro here and stuff. So like this thing that we've done here has been a really unusual experience of just saying, we've done our bit. We played relinquish control exactly. We played our parts, and now there you go, do what you will, kind of thing. And that's just been an interesting, because we've not done a lot of that really.
I think I would have struggled 4 years ago.
I think you would have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I remember we did try and do it at Factory Street.
Yeah.
And we recorded it and filmed it, and it was good, and you know, it was great. And you guys were like, it's not good enough.
And it's funny because I actually listened to those performances before we did the performance last week.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, they're not too bad.
It's all right. A bit of distance on it. You're like, that was pretty good back then.
Yeah, it's better than not playing before you. So there's that. Yeah.
We do a couple.
No,
we did a couple
of recordings like that
in the main room.
In the main room,
in the bar. Yeah.
We did one that was sort of specifically your thing.
Yeah.
We did 2 rounds with it, didn't we?
Maybe.
Yes, we did.
Twice.
Yeah, we had to play
it
twice. Two good
takes.
takes.
So contrived.
Once more with gusto. Yeah.
How are we doing, Bradford? How are we doing, Bradford?
Yeah, that's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. I think you know.
It's a very hard thing to do, is to make live performance recordings.
Yeah.
Especially with video.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
A learning curve for us all the time.
Hey, we're so used to edited stuff, like the beauty standards of everything that you experience are so high right now. Like when you see what is a live performance, it probably isn't. Yeah, it probably isn't. Everything's got like you've got a little edit in it somewhere. Everything.
Well, yeah.
Someone will say something bad in this.
Something's
Just
edited,
wait.
But yeah.
Do you think there's a danger though of approaching the uncanny valley? You know,
We're already there.
We're already there.
kind of
We're already there.
things aren't quite right.
I remember pulling up an album. In fact, it came up in conversation maybe a couple of weeks back, actually. I was chatting about a Stray from the Path album that had the weirdest gate on it. And it was to the point that like they were so unhappy with that performance that they gated the hell out of it to the extent that it was missing the initial hits of the actual string coming in, literally chopped the bits off. Like it. We've been in the uncanny valley with that stuff for a while. For a while.
Well, and editing isn't new, is it? You know?
No, we were doing punch-ins and stuff even on tape though, weren't we? Yeah. And if anyone thinks that the statues of like famous figures from way back when are exactly the physiques that these people have, you're crazy.
No, it's true.
We've been photoshopping since chiseled rock. Honestly, it's
yeah, absolutely. You're always polishing it.
yeah, totally.
It's a representation. I often think of. Well, I like to capture things and then try and reproduce them as a representation of what they were, but it's had so many processes that it's not real, but you're trying to present it as something that is real, and that's a strange sort of path to tread with.
And I think that's the kind of the power of live music over studio stuff is that, you know, people are coming to see whether something goes wrong.
Dangerous.
Like,
It's dangerous.
I like it. When if you fall off it, then as long as the whole thing don't fall apart and you start arguing,
It's alive, isn't it? All of a sudden, it's alive.
Then that proves that you are walking the tightrope, and there's nothing more exciting than, you know, it's pretty boring seeing someone walk on the pavement, isn't it? You want to see them on the tightrope.
Yeah. We had to make peace with the fact that what we do when we play live, we're not the world's best musicians. We have to make peace with the fact that when we do play live, it is imperfect. It literally is. And our first show that we did after 4 years of playing on stages where you can get away with a whole lot on stage. And so we made peace with the imperfections.
Yeah.
We made peace with it, and like, you know, we understand. And, you know, yourself, you've been a big help in understanding that.
Even the idea that something can be perfect is
bizarre.
It's bizarre.
Concept,
isn't it?
We need to shed that idea, I think, and, you know, not to try and chase the idea, or maybe rephrase it to chase the idea in its best form. You know what I mean? In its best form.
Well, the thing is, if you want to put something out, you want it to be the best that it can be, but you can get lost down that rabbit hole. So badly.
Ultimately, because that's one of the great challenges of recording anything or creating any art, I guess, is that you reach that point where you've made the thing and then you step back and you go, if I was doing it again, I would do it a little bit like differently and better, and it would cut, and so therefore it'll never stop. So you have to put a kind of deadline on it. You have to go, right, that's within acceptable limits of correctness, and I like the feel of it. It feels nice to me.
That was exactly why we birthed the Triggered Tuesdays that we did in 2018 anyway, because of the amount of time, procrastination, but just like over analysis that we did on the first two records, that we just turned around and went, fuck it, we're going to have to do this, where we're just doing it once a month. It is done when it's done, and we have to move on to the next thing, and we have to move on to the next thing, and we have to move on to the next thing. And what we ended up creating off the back of it is far from perfect, but it's something that I'm still really, really proud of. Like, really, really proud of.
So did you just, how many of those did you do? How long did you do?
12.
Yeah, I did the whole year.
We did a track a month for a year.
And is that available to buy on
anywhere? So it's interesting you say that, because like they were all released just like a track a month of singles.
Yeah.
And then obviously we stopped before we could kind of finalize them and kind of put them up as a whole album for you to be able to kind of hear it, you know, chronologically. Yeah, but it's after having so long from them, like I kind of want to do a hindsight mix of them to make them all kind of sound a little bit more.
Just not for yeah.
Yeah, a
feel
little bit
like
more
they're
together.
not finished.
It's not that they're not finished. It's not that. It's like I feel like they're inaccessible. I feel like the way that you experience them is too disjointed, and perhaps wouldn't have been if we hadn't have had such a long time off, and we'd have been able to kind of shape that release into something that kind of stands a test of time, really. But it doesn't now.
Do you think I mean, one of the things that makes it interesting for me is the story of it, and that those things were created, and that's what they were.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, you had to draw a line under it, and that's what they were. Do you think that maybe going back and working on them some more is true to that concept?
Yes and no. I think yes and no. It really depends.
We have wrestled with this.
Yeah, because it really does depend. Because I've thought about, if we did release them, I would really like both versions to be there.
Well,
I'd really like both
occurred to
versions.
me is you could do a sort
A
of
double
double
disc.
album.
That's kind of the whole
original releases and what.
Yeah.
You know.
That's the plan. The plan is to be able to have it so that you can hear it with like a hindsight mix, so that it sounds kind of modern and with everything that we've learned about it. And also, like, as a mix engineer, I understand what it was we were trying to achieve a lot more. And I feel like I can kind of treat it as an external member of the band and not be so close to the records, and kind of present them in a light that just, makes the experience a little bit more modern, and digestible. But if you do want that older sound, it's still there.
Because some of them are recorded really badly.
Really badly.
Really badly.
Like ass badly. Yeah, but when you put them on, like, and you put them on through speakers, like the low end doesn't move, and the songs kind of like when the mix kind of gets in the way of some of the tracks, like past a certain point, the mix, they're not the best mixes in the world, but they're not hindering the track. Whereas some of these records, you're like, this just sounds shit. It just doesn't sound very good. Yeah. And so just to be able to kind of just, juice them up a little bit.
Well, you've learned so much about mix engineering and production since we did them, that I think, I mean, do you feel like you could do the tracks more justice with your skills now?
100%. Yeah, all the raw material that we've got there, I just fucked it up. when we recorded it the first time, it was just like, sure, that'll do. That's right. That's correct. But whenever I just put it on next to other people's music, I always think they're good songs, but they just sound bad. Just want them to kick a little more when you put them on at a party or wherever on your headphones. Yeah. It's like that's fair enough. Yeah, mixes can make or break the experience of things. Yeah. And so that is as much a fifth instrument in our band, obviously. Yeah. Take it very seriously.
Yeah, it is. It's serious business. It's hard as well.
Yeah.
Really hard to do good mixes.
It can only be done by handsome people too, isn't that right, Alex?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
There's a plug-in that helps.
So, 3 songs. Slime, you said.
Yeah.
What's that about? Tell me
Slime.
the story of the song.
Slime, just sliminess. It's about sliminess. I mean, surrounded by we live in shark-infested waters, don't we? Really?
Right, yeah.
And there's never been a more affluent time to be alive, and there's never been a more confusing time to be alive. You don't really know what's real. You don't really know what to trust. There's a lot of narratives that go around, a lot of false narratives, a lot of fake news, but a lot of tribalism over views that we're not really sure we hold. And so Slime is really about just making sure that you're staying switched on to false prophets, false narratives,
fake news,
and strange toxic beliefs, and justifications for things that are happening in your life, really. So that's what Slime's about.
Cool. Well, that's a good topic.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to be aware of it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just trying to have a kind of a meditation on making sure that you stay clear up here, pretty much.
Great.
It's probably new to most people. But
no one's heard it.
It's a new one. So this hasn't been released.
This
is
previously unreleased.
Yeah. So this version of it that we did on that day is the first time that anyone's going to.
It had a working title even.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's that track out of the 3 is the one that's like the
And
newest.
so the other 2
they're on the Trigger
Boom.
Tuesday stuff that we
they're on the
did.
Trigger Tuesdays.
Yeah, so they were part of the monthly releases. Yeah, they were near the back end of that year.
Right.
Side by side, if memory serves me right.
Yeah.
Boohoo into Python.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's great stuff. I really enjoyed recording it and listening. Enjoyed listening to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that means a lot.
About the let's get geeky about equipment for a minute. You've gone digital into the. You just plug
Did you hear the disdain in his
plug it
voice?
into the.
Did you hear that? Because I heard
just
that.
hooking yourselves up into the matrix.
Yeah.
If you put
I know Kung Fu.
1440p and watch it again.
No, but you turned up with all your guitar sounds and your vocal sounds from one unit each, kind of thing. And why did you make that transition? What pushed you down that route as opposed to making a noise?
Seen the size of his cab.
Just your back.
It was disgusting. Six B tens. In fact, if memory serves me right, that 6B10 is currently in what Factory Street is now.
Yeah.
It's currently being stored
In our old room.
Thanks, Jacob. Thanks. Shout out to the Apogee guys as well for looking after my cab and also being a really good band.
And really nice guys and friends.
Yeah.
Great.
Go on. Yeah, no.
The digital switch.
Yeah, and I mean just the process.
I feel like we've maybe not touched on this subject enough, but it's control. It's a need for control and to remove as many variables out as possible for us to be able to do the recorded sound and then be able to get that as close to the live sound as when we finally get around to being back on a stage. Also, I hate pedal dancing. I absolutely hate pedal dancing and having this little digital box that allows me to click one thing and all of a sudden I've got 4 different pedals come on and it's glorious. Yeah.
Well, it sounds good. I mean, those things often, it's very easy to lose definition, I think, with those sorts of those tools because the temptation is there to put everything on it and like make it lots of posh and...
I spend a lot of time watching these guys twiddle with their knobs.
I've had, you know what's funny is...
You tune your drums.
Well, yeah.
That's a
that's
dramatic topic.
That
actually.
right there is
Everybody.
a sore subject.
It's shocking how many times I've shown up to shows and had an engineer just plonk a 57 on my guitar cab and then just be like, well, that's all right. And I'm like, is it? Is it? Because I've done that.
Even the speaker?
I've done that because if you just do that in a recording situation, you still have to scoop a lot of frequencies out of guitars. I've always, more than anything, with the kind of music that we're playing, everything is processed. Everything's literally processed, and I just stopped finding advantages specifically for what we do. Specifically for what we do. That's I am not anti. Guitar amps or cabs in any way, shape, or form. I still got my orange amp in head. I just it wasn't serving us for what we were doing, at all. I ended up what I actually ended up using my guitar for is not conventionally what a guitar would kind of sound like anyway. So, and just being able to play a small venue with a PA if we want to and know the guitar tone's the same. We can play in someone's basement. We'll commute cymbals now, and we can play on the whole thing scales up. So it scales up and scales down.
But you can get the 12 Marshall stacks when you're playing at Wembley.
Well, there you go. Yeah, we'll just put them on the rider and just not plug them in.
Yeah. We'll stick the quaddy behind it.
Yeah. Shout out Neural DSP if you're watching. Seriously, that box is just. I wasn't up for digital until that thing kind of came along, and I saw that it could do guitar, bass, vocals.
But it sounds good as well.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Obviously a testament to your programming of it, but I didn't feel like it was hard to work with to mix.
Cool. Well, that's great, and to hear that from you was
of all people.
I don't think you understand how much. Yeah, exactly. You don't know how much that means.
Overall, it was terribly difficult.
Can't let us have too much.
No, it mixed itself, of course.
I was just looking for the little. There it is, the little axle down there. I'm just surprised you didn't partway walk out and just go. We'll record everything through that.
I was shocked you didn't change our mics. You didn't change any of our setup.
I did actually regret not changing the mics.
Yeah, I bet you would have done. Yeah, I thought you would have done.
Yeah, just because there was enough of the other spill of the drums onto them. So
Yeah.
it was a challenge to get that balance right, but I think it's come out sounding all right.
Awesome.
Yeah. But that's one of the things with that challenge of doing the live recordings is you end up with less than perfect source material because of the restrictions of being in the room with a drum kit. A singer in a room with a drum kit is
It's all my fault.
It's all your fault.
But we you know, talking about going digital, you know, me and Aaron, well, all three of us have talked about how I can incorporate technology now. You know, to try and bring myself more into the modern era. I mean, my you know, I'm playing on a kit that I bought in 2006 when I was 16, and you know, I've never really felt the need to move on to anything else. But when we're talking about how we expand ourselves and change, you know, make some changes and progress in whatever we want to do, like I don't, you know, I'm coming round to the realization that like the wood and the metal that I'm playing is restrictive in that way, and maybe you know, getting some more kind of digital elements and electric kits and stuff, it's just the money.
Especially with
I mean, because you know, you were talking about like you didn't consider going digital until that thing came along because it just wasn't convincing you enough, or just
because the vocals specifically that you could process more than just the guitar through it. It wasn't just like here's another Marshall simulator. It was like here's a computer at your feet, pretty much.
And I feel like electric drums are getting pretty close to the point now where I can kind of start buying into them a little bit more, because you know, I've been an acoustic drum purist for a long time. And you know, we actually had to spend a long time rehearsing on an electric kit before we got a space and before I could play back on earth.
Shout out mum and dad.
Yeah. And I'm you know, really grateful to be playing an acoustic kit again. That's you know, what I've grown up with, and that's just like, you know, what I enjoy. But yeah, I think on the horizon, I think I'm gonna have to maybe adapt some stuff and get a sample pad, or you know, start hybridizing things a little bit more, just to kind of expand my palette and my toolbox.
It's just about being open to change.
Yeah,
because music can get quite clingy onto like traditions. Can't do this. Should sound like that. This is the genre. Drums should do this. This should be tuned this way. Should be. As soon as you start saying stuff like that, it's like alarm bells for me.
Should is my therapist told me. Should is a bad word.
It is a bad word. It is, particularly when you're trying to be creative in something. You know, I think just following the idea and whatever equipment you need to make that idea a reality is how you should look at it.
Okay, but I guess the problem with that as well is that the money that you have to spend to expand your range of sounds is a barrier.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, music equipment's so expensive, and like musicians were not making that much money, so it's like it's hard to, like, I would love to go out and buy the latest, you know, Roland top of the line 7-8 grand drum kit and just have fun with it and incorporate it, but
I don't think electric drums are going to replace real drums.
No, they're not. But I'd like to add
it
to our. I'd like to add it to my gear repertoire. I'd like to have. You know, we were talking before about having a studio space where we have an acoustic kit set up, but we also have an electric kit set up, and we just jump between them. We start hybridizing and mixing them together. And I'd love to get to that point, but I don't have the 8 grand that it would take to get to that point.
It takes time, doesn't it? Collecting
come on, Roland.
Because
sort it out. We know you're watching.
The problem with e-kits for me is the interface. You know? So it's like you got to spend a decent amount of money to get something that feels like a drum kit and acts like a drum kit.
You buy cheap stuff, it's cheap, isn't it?
Buy a drum kit to get a drum kit. Buy an electric drum kit to do what electric drum kits do.
Yeah.
Like electric drum kits just don't sound like drum kits.
No, I'm not even talking necessarily about the sound.
People who coil tap Les Pauls, I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
It's where you make your guitar sound thin and weedy.
Okay.
In order to...
Mate, you should introduce them to digital gear.
In order to mimic the sound of, say, a Telecaster or whatever it is.
yeah.
Rather than changing guitars, your guitar can do all the sounds. But the sound that... I mean, it's fine if you like that sound of its own right. But to do it because you only want to have one guitar that makes all the noises, it won't work. Will it?
Probably not.
You can't do one thing that does everything.
No, probably not.
Tell that to my bass. Shout out Alpha
For
Guitars.
guitars, yeah. Bass does a lot of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, gear's a weird one. You know, it's hard to not look at music as being like a lot of things, like education or everything, as being slightly gentrified. You know, like the financial barrier into music just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And eventually, you know, already those who have backing succeed already. Never mind even get started. If we got to be really careful, because if like the climate of music gets to a point where people can't even afford to just get started in it,
Well, then
the voices that will actually be
if the gear is what you're
rubbish.
aspiring to, then you know.
But I mean, you got to have a microphone to be heard. You've got to have you got to have an amp to be able to for an electric guitar to make any sense. You know, even like entry level drum kits. It's just like music's just not cheap.
No.
It's just not cheap at all.
We've even wrestled with the kind of guilt that comes with, like, because we're so privileged to be able to play music and have what we have.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of guilt that comes in with that.
Definitely.
Like thinking about other people that would love to do what we do.
And having enough to eat and not having to worry all the time about whether you're going to eat something is a privileged position, isn't it? So, you know, like, to be able to do things that are luxuries is...
Yeah.
It is. But I think that the important thing about that is to not feel guilty, but to appreciate the fact that you can.
Yeah, no, that's what that's kind of
like,
the process that I've been through, you know, just to appreciate it.
And I think we all struggle with it when we see more and more of these terrible things going on around the world around us all the time. We're living in this, those of us who, we're the haves, and there's like the have-nots. Both of us, like, you know, we're both in BD1 right now. You know, we all spend time in this city centre, and you know, it's tough out there. Like it's
That's why music's even more important, because, and particularly it's important for it to not have a financial entry to it, because songs are not about making money. That's not what they were historically for. You know, they were for getting people through hard times. They were for, you know, they were like what movies do. They're escapism. They're to feed the imagination, tell stories of battles and love and heartbreak. And, you know, if anything, you need music more than ever to be a soundtrack to the world we live in, to the life that we live. Whether that be down times, whether that be up times, regardless, you know. I just think it's important that music stays open to people.
Well,
now more than ever.
Yeah, I hope so. I think people will always find a way to make music, even if there's no money. But it's it's one of those things, isn't it?
Because I like to think if I had no money, I'd still sing in a room on my own. I'd still beatbox. I'd still come up with. I'd still hum.
You'd still be just
I'd still tap away. It's like you don't. It for all the ways that we're convinced that money and music and industry are all just linked like this, and they're inevitable, inseparable. Yeah. And it's like they're not. It's like you know, anyone music, just start clapping in beat and dance, and like you're doing music. That is what it's about. Yeah. It's there all the time. So it's important not to lose sight of that, I think.
Yeah, the old blues wire on the side of the shed. Yeah.
You can't stop people from expressing themselves. Yeah. You can't stop music like that. You just can't.
So we're lucky to have all this nice gear to do it.
They're all the bonus. That's literally a bonus.
I think we might be drawing to a close. Is that where can people find out about you? Have you got that? Social media,
not on TikTok yet.
Not on TikTok.
Not on TikTok.
No.
You can follow us on social media. We haven't posted on there in like 4 years. We used to post a lot, but it's become a pretty sick and horrible place to hang out, to be totally honest. I'm not sure how much, even if we post on there, people even want to see it. I don't even know what people want to see when they go on there, or even if they like being on there, or if they just have to go on it. So it's a tough one. But you can go on our website, triggerthumbuk.com, now that we're kind of getting back to it. I'm hoping to just redo all of that. That's
probably where, on your website, you can reliably find out what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Have you
also,
got a mailing list or anything? Like email mailing list?
I'm gonna say yes.
And then sorts it out.
Yes.
You've got a couple of weeks before this comes out.
That's fine. Then yes.
Yeah.
Give us all your emails.
Yeah.
We don't spam. To be honest, we haven't really thought it through, so whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will now.
But all our
Yeah.
music, you can just, it's all on Spotify. You can listen to it all. No one pays
It's
for
on
music.
all
anyway.
the streaming
It
services.
is.
And
It's
if
on
you
all of them.
really wanted to pay for it, you can go and get them on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
That's true.
They're
You
still
actually
on
can.
there.
You can.
Yeah,
And you can
there
you
we
can
go.
pay as you feel.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's all the information that we need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us, Alex. Thank
It's
you.
been
for
an absolute pleasure, and
Yeah.
thank you for coming, making the time to come back and talk as well as play music. And
always.
it's been very interesting. I've
Thank you for
thoroughly
everything
enjoyed
you've
our
ever done for us.
conversation.
Yeah.
To be honest, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for you, honestly.
That's a very fair point.
Yeah, it's just a fact. It's just a fact. We like everyone says we say we're DIY, but we're DIY with the absolute help and
But
endurance of
we all
our
help
friends
each other.
and family.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know,
There's no such thing as DIY. I don't
No,
think.
there isn't.
No.
No, there isn't.
Everyone needs someone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great note to end on. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
GG's.
Good night.